Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, I have so many fond memories of growing up Muslim and going through so many years of Ramadan. And since the age of 6, alhamdulillah, in our family, we would start fasting, and this tradition has continued on with my own children. And I remember looking forward to Ramadan and waking up for suhoor with our parents, our brothers and sisters, feeling excited, having the sense of, calmness and feeling wonderful that we would all eat together, and then we would at the end of the day break iftar together. And these are all just wonderful memories. And what's nice is that all those years of Ramadan trained us and made us be able to endure the challenges of fasting. Alhamdulillah, it created wonderful memories as well. The other thing is, I also remember getting together with families and friends and having iftar parties, and you have all these different wonderful food offered by people who have invited you, and it gives you a real sense of community, and it makes you feel included, and it makes you feel loved when you are able to attend this. And also being able to go to the masjid and attending a community iftar and listening to lectures and offering prayers together. It's really a very wonderful way of remembering Ramadan throughout the years. Now let's stop and think though, while our Ramadans have very good fond memories, Ramadan also was challenging, and I think that we would be untruthful in saying that it was just all easy. I know growing up in a public school system, fasting had its challenges, because while we were fasting, we had to realize that others were noticing, that other students were noticing that we're not eating during the lunch break, and we were having some issues with gym time. Most teachers were understanding, others weren't, so you may have had to participate in physical activity while fasting. And also going through medical school and then being in residency, being on call in the ICU, I remember having to take admissions, conduct codes while being hungry, while not being able to drink, and then having to operate on very little sleep. So we realized that while Ramadan has beautiful memories, it's also challenging. So now let's stop and think, if we found, and we still find actually Ramadan challenging at times, how does somebody who's come into Islam as a new Muslim feel? Remember that they're not having the benefit of having been born into Islam. They've not had years of training of fasting. They don't have these wonderful memories that we've created over the years of waking up for suhoor or having iftar. And a lot of them have been cut off from their families or from their social contacts. So they may not have that social support that they need. So it may be very difficult for them fasting. And the reality is, Islam is the fastest growing religion. Alhamdulillah, all around the world, we see the numbers growing. And it's really a time for us to celebrate, thinking that Islam has had such an impact on people that even after 9/11 has taken place, even after the bad negative media coverage of ISIS and the false representation of Islam and the Islamophobia that's there, we still are the fastest growing religion. And what's interesting is that in America, the Latino community itself has been growing rapidly. This data has indicated that just in 2019, there were about 250,000 Latino Muslims, alhamdulillah, and this number is growing. So we have to be aware of this, and we have to be happy about this. But while we get excited, whenever somebody becomes a Muslim, a new Muslim, they're in the masjid, they take the shahada, we are so happy. But then we have to think what happens after that, because that was just the first step. They said the shahada, they became Muslim, and now what? Who's there to support them, to guide them, and to be there for them throughout the entire process afterwards? Because that's just the beginning, having said the shahada. So we have to look and see that the new Muslims may have gone through a lot of difficulty. One of the possibilities is, as many of them, their family disowns them, so they no longer have that family support. Some of them may no longer have a home to live in because they're not accepted because they've chosen to be Muslim. Others have lost friends and a social network around them because they're not accepted. Once they've transformed from whether they were Christian or whatever background they came from, Islam is very obviously different. So it's very hard for others to accept someone becoming a Muslim. So we have to be very conscious of the fact that they are facing hardships and they're going through pain, a lot of painful changes, real changes that they will need a lot more than just a little bit of encouragement. So, and in Islam, we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says the Muslim Ummah is one body. When one part feels the pain, the rest of the body feels the pain. So we have to be aware of that and we have to be there for them. Let's look at the example of the Muhajir and Ansar. Even though this is not the exact same situation where somebody is new as a Muslim, the idea the example is a good one to learn from, because when Rasul ﷺ migrated from Mecca to Medina, and the Muhajir who left their homes had left behind not only the home, but they had left behind all their belongings, all their wealth. They had left behind their families. Some of them even left their spouses and their children. And this was very difficult for them. So when they got to Medina, Rasul ﷺ united the Ansar and the Muhajir, and he made a pact between them. And he made sure that those who had given up everything and were facing hardships were well taken care of by their Muslim brothers and sisters in Medina. And this is a beautiful example of what we should learn from, because they offered help. The people in Medina, the Muslims of Medina, offered help financially, emotionally, in every which way possible to help those who had migrated to adjust to their new land. The other thing we have to think about is the educational support that's needed. So every time someone would come into the fold of Islam, Rasul ﷺ made sure someone would teach them the Islam, the information that they needed. And this should be the case for every new Muslim. You can't expect someone to have taken the Shahada but not have the information they need on how to do basic things like conducting the rituals for ghusl or wudu, making sure that they understand how to actually pray, understanding what to do when they have relations with their spouse, what's permitted, what's not permitted, to learn the ahkam basically. They need to have that information and that knowledge. They need to understand the duties that fall upon their shoulders, their responsibilities. But at the same time, they should also know the rights that they've gained now by becoming a Muslim. And alhamdulillah, one of the beautiful things about Islam is it protects the rights of each and every person, whether they're an orphan, whether they're a small child, whether they're an older person, whether they're somebody who has been wronged. Every person's rights are protected. And definitely the new Muslim has to learn all the rights that are now available to them that they may not have had outside of Islam. And they need to be made aware of this, and they need to, inshallah, be taught as much as we can possibly teach them. And as a community, we have a collective responsibility to make sure that we have a structure in place for the new Muslims, for education, for financial support, emotional support for those who've lost a lot and may be suffering psychologically, and to make sure that we are there for them in every sense of the word, inshallah. I know that there's a great effort put forth in Texas by a brother. His name is Jaime Mujahid Fletcher, and alhamdulillah, he had accepted Islam, and he's from the Latino community. He set up the first Islamic Spanish Center in Texas, and he's done an amazing job. It's phenomenal how he's not only embraced this new center, but he's provided a lot of community services, doing charity work, and he's also been there for those new Muslims who are coming from the Latino community, and teaching them and encouraging them and providing them with a social network and a sense of belonging, which is really needed, alhamdulillah. We also have some very good efforts from some local masajid here that have set up new Muslim programs, that have new Muslim groups, and I know there are groups available on the internet. But we have to make sure individually also that we step up to the plate and we offer as much help as we can in every way possible. And the other thing we need to remember is in Ramadan, I know this Ramadan, we can't invite anybody for iftar and we can't gather because of the social distancing, but definitely, keep in mind that in Ramadan, we should be inviting people who are not normally included for iftars. We should include them in our gatherings with our family and friends, not just for the sake of giving them food, but really for giving them this sense of belonging and having them meet other people and letting them know that they are loved and they are cared for. And we should also make sure that if they need reading material, we should provide them reading material. If they need just a phone call just to check in on them and say, hey, how's your fast going? Are you tolerating it okay? To give them encouragement. maybe they're disheartened, maybe they're finding it difficult, or maybe they're doing perfectly fine. But just to say salam and to let them know that we're thinking about them. And definitely now it's the Ramadan is ending, it's the time for Eid. We should definitely give them a call, remember them, send over a gift, send over some food, whatever we can do to show them that they are part of our Muslim family. And inshallah, I hope that we heed to this advice, and I hope inshallah that we protect and take care of our new Muslim brothers and sisters the way we would anybody in our own family, inshallah. With that, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.